I still remember the way her eyes shifted when I told her. It was a Thursday night. I'd just gotten home, still in my work boots, dust on my jeans, and I was buzzing. My boss had pulled me aside that afternoon and laid it out. Promotion to lead a massive new commercial build in Denver. More money than I'd ever made. Full relocation. A real shot at running my own division someday. I walked in our apartment ready to share the best news of my career. My name's Lucas. I'm 30, and I've been working as a project manager for a construction firm in Austin for almost 6 years. Solid company. I worked my way up from site supervisor. And lately, it felt like everything was finally clicking. Sarah was on the couch, scrolling her phone, legs tucked under her, the usual takeout bag on the coffee table. I dropped my keys in the dish by the door. "Babe, you're not gonna believe this. They offered me Denver. Big build. Like, career-making big." She looked up. "Wow, that's amazing." But the smile didn't reach her eyes. I kept going, couldn't stop. "They'll pay for the move. Full team under me. This could put us on a whole new track. New place, new start. Think about it, Sarah, Denver. We've talked about getting out of this apartment forever." She set her phone down, sat up straighter. "Lucas, I can't go." I blinked. "What?" "Jason's going through a rough patch. His firm laid off half their team. He's been leaning on me a lot. I can't just bail on him right now." I stared at her. "You're serious?" She crossed her arms. "He's been there for me since college. I'm not just gonna walk away when he needs me." Jason, her ex, the one she swore was just a friend. The same guy she grabbed drinks with every couple weeks, called when work stressed her out, texted late when she couldn't sleep. I never liked the setup, but I swallowed it because I trusted her. I didn't say anything for a beat, just sat on the armrest and looked at the floor. She stood. "You're overreacting. It's just a job. There'll be others." That stung. 2 days later, I turned the offer down. Told my boss thanks, but no thanks. Said something about timing, personal reasons. When I got home, Sarah didn't even ask how it went. Just tossed her jacket on the chair and said, "Jason's doing a little better." We talked for a couple hours. I walked into the kitchen and started washing dishes, the plates from the night before still in the sink. My hands shook under the water, but I scrubbed harder. I dumped the last plate in the drying rack and wiped my hands on a towel. Behind me, Sarah was still talking about how Jason was thinking of changing firms and how stressed he was lately. I didn't say anything, just nodded, then went to bed early. That was about a year ago. Last week, my boss called me into his office again. Same tone, same look on his face as before. "You ever think about Denver again?" he asked, leaning forward. I didn't answer right away. "This one's bigger. Way bigger. Hospital complex in Highlands Ranch. For buildings 2 years top to bottom. They want you, Lucas. Bigger team, higher salary, company car. Full relocation. The works." I said I'd think about it. This time, I didn't come home excited. I sat in my truck for 10 minutes before walking upstairs. Sarah was at the counter eating yogurt, phone in hand. She looked up. "Everything okay?" "They offered me Denver again." I leaned on the wall near the fridge. "New build. Huge one. They want me to lead the project." She blinked. "Again?" "Yeah. This one's even better than last time. It's the real deal, Sarah." She set her spoon down, already shaking her head. "I can't leave right now. Jason's going through a breakup. He's barely holding it together. I've been talking to him every day. He needs someone right now." I just stood there, arms crossed, biting the inside of my cheek. "You can't leave," I said slow and sharp. She flinched. "Lucas, don't do that. You know how close we are. He's struggling. I'm not going to abandon him just because you're feeling restless again." "Restless?" I snapped. "This is my career, Sarah. This isn't about a weekend trip. I'm being offered a life-changing opportunity. Again. And your answer is still no because Jason's sad." Her voice rose. "You're making it sound like I don't care about you." I stepped closer. "Do you? 'Cause every time I need you to be on my side, Jason somehow needs you more. Is that how this works? His problems come first." "You're being controlling," she fired back. Just because I care about someone doesn't mean I don't care about you too. No, it just means I'm always the one compromising. She crossed her arms, defensive. I don't see why this has to be all or nothing. If our relationship's solid, you could take the job and we'd figure it out. I almost laughed. Right? So I move across the country and you stay here, playing therapist for your ex? That's your idea of solid. Her mouth opened, but she didn't speak. I shook my head. You ever tell him to back off? Ever once say, "Hey Jason, maybe stop texting me at midnight about your breakup?" Silence. That's what I thought. She grabbed her phone and walked to the bedroom. You're blowing this way out of proportion. I stood there alone in the kitchen. Lights too bright, air too still. I felt like a guest in my own place. I didn't sleep that night. The next morning, I told my boss I was staying in Austin. Again. He didn't even try to talk me into it this time. Just nodded and said, "All right, door's still open, Lucas." I hung up the phone and just sat there on the edge of the bed, staring at my shoes. Sarah came out of the bathroom, towel on her head. "Everything good?" "Yeah," I said. Turned it down. She smiled like that was the right answer. Kissed me on the cheek. Probably for the best. Jason had a rough night again, he might come over later. Don't be weird about it. I didn't answer. Instead, I walked into the kitchen and started cleaning out the coffee pot, just like before. But inside, something was starting to snap. A couple days later, I grabbed beers with my buddy Dean at a bar off Burnett. Old friend from back in my site supervisor days. Married 5 years, 2 kids, still somehow managed to stay sane. We were sitting in the back booth when I finally said it out loud. She's still talking to her ex every damn day. Morning, night, whenever. I'm starting to feel like the third wheel in my own relationship. Dean took a sip, gave me that look he does when he's choosing his words. Look, man, my wife, she talks to her ex maybe twice a year. Holidays, birthdays. That's it. And that's her boundary, not mine. You get what I'm saying? I nodded, jaw clenched. She chooses you every time. Doesn't sound like Sarah's doing that. That hit harder than I expected. I went home that night and stared at the ceiling until 2 in the morning. Thought about every time I'd swallowed my pride. Every time I said, "It's fine, she'll come around." She never did. Next morning, I accepted the promotion. Didn't ask. Didn't warn her. Just emailed HR, called my boss, and said I was in. I made the decision like a grown man should. Sarah had no idea. She was in the kitchen texting Jason when I came back from work. Didn't even look up. He's having a rough week again. I might stop by his place later if that's cool. I opened the fridge, grabbed a bottle of water, said nothing. Over the next couple weeks, I started packing a little at a time. Just the stuff she wouldn't notice. Extra work clothes, tools, my records, anything that could disappear without raising questions. She was too wrapped up in Jason's drama to notice. Every night was the same. Texts flying, her laughing at some inside joke, phone on speaker while she cooked. I'd sit on the couch and watch her listen to him go on about his emotional damage, while she didn't even ask how my day went. Then came the final straw. One night, she walked in with a bag of groceries and set them on the counter. "Hey, could you cook tonight? Jason's coming over. He's been spiraling. I figured we could eat and hang out for a bit, help him decompress." I stared at her. She didn't flinch, just started unpacking like it was nothing. "Sure," I said, walking over to grab a pan. "I'll take care of it." She smiled and kissed my cheek. "Thanks, babe. I knew you'd understand." She had no idea she'd just cleared my exit plan. That night, while she sat on the balcony talking Jason off another emotional cliff, I finished packing the last of my gear into the truck. Laptop, documents, tools, my watch collection. I took one last look around the apartment. The pictures on the wall, all her pics. The couch? I hated that thing. Our life here, it was never ours. She didn't even notice me slip out. As I pulled out of the lot, her voice floated down from upstairs, laughing at something Jason said, like none of it mattered. And maybe to her it didn't. But for me, that was the last time I waited for her permission. I hit the highway and didn't look back. I'd booked a short-term rental in Denver for a month. Nothing fancy, just a furnished two-bedroom near the new job site. It was quiet, no clutter, no one else's stuff lying around. For the first time in years, it was just me and my decisions. Sarah still didn't know. She kept texting while I drove up. Jason said thanks again for dinner. It really helped him reset. Then an hour later, "Did you grab eggs?" I didn't reply. By the second day, I'd already met with HR, toured the build site, and started onboarding with my new team. These people were serious engineers, architects, city officials. No emotional baggage. No late-night calls from exes. Just straight work. Felt like breathing clean air. And yeah, I was still technically in the relationship for now. But I knew it was already over. I just hadn't said it out loud yet. In the days leading up to my move, I'd started watching her differently. Not with love. With clarity. She could be halfway through a conversation with me, then her phone buzzed and boom. Jason. She'd answer with that soft voice she never used with me anymore. "Hey, what's up? You okay?" I could be telling her about a meeting with upper management and she'd zone out. But the second Jason texted about feeling down or confused about life, she dropped everything. She missed my company barbecue because Jason was having a low day. Skipped my cousin's wedding because Jason needed to talk. Hell, one night I came home with 2 tickets to a Spurs game, front row, work perk. She looked guilty before I even said anything. "I can't tonight," she said. Jason had a panic attack earlier. I told him I'd stop by. I looked right at her. "You realize you just skipped our night for his again, right?" "He's in crisis, Lucas," she said, like I was the asshole. "You're strong. You'll be fine." Right then, I knew exactly where I stood. A few days later, I had a work event, big one. Networking dinner with execs, project heads, even some potential investors. I told Sarah about it 3 weeks in advance. Bought a new suit. Reserved her a seat. The night of, I got ready alone. She walked in, adjusting her earrings, but in jeans and a sweater. Not dressed for the event. "Wait," I said. "You're not coming?" She grabbed her bag. "Jason's dealing with another breakdown. Something with his ex. He asked me to come over and talk. I figured you'd understand." I just nodded. I drove to the event solo. Smiled, shook hands, made connections. Laughed when I had to. Took a picture with the regional VP. Locked in 2 new contracts by the end of the night. She didn't text until past midnight. "Hope it went well. I'm still at Jason's. It's been rough." I stared at the screen, then turned off my phone. The next morning, she acted like nothing was wrong. Made coffee, hummed while she got dressed. I sat on the edge of the bed and watched her buzz around the room like she hadn't missed everything. Like she hadn't walked out on me to fix him. Again, I didn't say a word, but I felt it settle in my bones. I was done. The next morning, she was sitting at the kitchen table. Laptop open, coffee in hand, like nothing had happened. Like she hadn't skipped out on me to console another man. I stood by the counter holding my mug. My decision was already made. I wasn't angry anymore, just clear. "I need to tell you something," I said. She looked up. "What's wrong?" "I took the Denver job." Her expression froze. "What?" "I accepted it last week. I'm moving in 2 weeks." Her chair screeched across the tile as she stood. "You did what?" "Without talking to me." I nodded. "Yeah, without talking to you." Her voice jumped an octave. "Lucas, we've been together 3 years. You don't just pack up and leave without discussing it. That's not how couples work." I set my cup down, calm but sharp. "You mean like how couples don't ditch plans to go comfort their exes every time they cry?" She blinked. "That's not fair. You know Jason's been through a lot." I cut her off. "Stop. I've heard that speech 100 times. Every excuse you've made for him, I've memorized it. You've prioritized his feelings over mine since the day we moved in together." "That's not true," she snapped. "I've always supported you." "When?" I asked louder this time. "When you told me to turn down my first promotion because Jason needed you? When you bailed on our events to run to his side? Or when you told me last night that he needed you more than I did?" She looked away, eyes wet, arms crossed like she was holding herself together. "Lucas." she said, quieter. I never meant to hurt you. Jason's just a friend. He was there when no one else was, and I guess I felt like I owed him that loyalty. I laughed under my breath. Loyalty's supposed to go both ways, Sarah. I've been waiting for 3 years for you to pick us. But you never did. Not once. Her lips trembled. If you'd told me how serious this was. I did. Over and over. You just didn't want to hear it. She stepped closer, reaching for my hand. We can fix this. Don't throw everything away because of one mistake. I pulled my hand back. This isn't one mistake. This is the whole pattern. You made me feel like second place in my own relationship, and I kept pretending it was fine. But I'm done pretending. Her voice cracked. You're really leaving? Yeah, I said. This time I'm choosing myself. She stood there, shaking her head, tears starting to spill. Please don't do this. I can change. I'll set boundaries. I'll tell Jason. Too late, I said. You should have done that years ago. She followed me to the bedroom, trying to keep talking while I zipped my last suitcase. Lucas, you can't just walk out. After everything. I turned to her. You already walked out. You just never left the apartment. That shut her up. An hour later, I loaded my bags into the back of the truck. She stood by the doorway, eyes red, hands shaking. Please, she whispered. Don't go like this. I looked at her one last time. Goodbye, Sarah. She started crying. Full on. But I got in the truck and backed out anyway. At the airport, I sat by the window waiting for my flight, my phone buzzing non-stop with her messages. Apologies, promises, half-finished paragraphs. I didn't open a single one. When they called for boarding, I stood, grabbed my bag, and walked forward without looking back. I landed in Denver just after noon, and by sunset, I already felt lighter. The air was crisp, different. My new place sat just west of downtown. Nothing huge, but it was clean, modern, mine. The walls weren't full of memories I didn't ask for. The next morning, I met my new crew. Sharp guys, motivated. No one gave me side eyes about my past, no awkward questions. Just work straight up. The build site was massive. 4 towers, multiple crews, a real challenge. Exactly what I wanted. I dove into it, showed up early, stayed late. Threw myself into planning meetings, walked the site every day, built trust with the team fast. Meanwhile, my phone buzzed nonstop. Sarah, 1:04 p.m. Just checking that you made it. Sarah, 3:28 p.m. I miss you. Please talk to me. Sarah, 7:50 p.m. Can we call? Just 5 minutes. Please. I didn't answer. I liked the quiet, the space. For once, I wasn't staring at a door waiting for someone who never showed. By the third day, her tone changed. Sarah, 8:17 a.m. I didn't realize how much I leaned on you. I'm sorry. Sarah, 10:42 a.m. I've been crying all night. I know I messed up. Sarah, 12:09 p.m. You said I always put him first. I didn't see it until now. Still, I stayed quiet. I didn't owe her a response. Not after the years I spent being second to a guy she claimed was just a friend. But then came the message that snapped it all into focus. It wasn't from her. It was from Melanie, an old mutual friend who always kept her distance from the drama. Melanie, 2:43 p.m. Hey, I don't want to get in the middle of anything, but I thought you should know. Jason came over to Sarah's place a couple nights ago. She was a mess, crying over you. He made a move on her. I stared at the screen. Melanie, 2:44 p.m. She pushed him away, but she was shaken, said he crossed a line. She finally saw what everyone else did. He was never just a friend. I set my phone down and leaned back in the chair, staring at the ceiling. So that was the truth. The guy I'd spent years competing with in silence had been playing the long game the whole damn time. He wasn't leaning on Sarah, he was pulling her, keeping her close, using her feelings to chip away at our relationship until there was nothing left. And she let it happen. I don't know what made me more angry, him being a manipulative prick, or her being too blind to see it until he crossed a physical line. The saddest part? I wasn't even surprised. She told me for years that Jason was just emotionally fragile. that he needed her, that I was being paranoid. But now there it was, out in the open. I didn't text her back, didn't ask for her side. There was nothing left to say. That night, I poured a drink, stepped out on the balcony, and looked over the lights of the city. For the first time in a long time, I didn't feel bitter. I just felt done. She could cry, beg, reflect all she wanted. But when it counted, she made her choice. Now I was living mine. The next day at work started like any other. I was out on site by 8, reviewing some rebar layouts with the structural lead, hard hat on, clipboard in hand. We were mid-discussion when I heard someone shout my name from across the gravel. I turned. It was her. Sarah, standing just inside the chain-link gate, arms wrapped around herself, hair tied back, eyes puffy and red. She looked like she hadn't slept in days. "Lucas," she said, her voice cracking as she stepped closer. I handed my clipboard to one of the guys and walked over, heart steady. "I drove all night," she said. "I didn't know what else to do." I didn't say anything, just waited. I've been calling, texting God. I must have left 50 messages. I know I messed up. I see it now. I swear I do. I glanced toward the site office. "Let's talk somewhere else." We sat in my truck, engine off, windows cracked. She clutched a crumpled tissue in one hand, twisting it into pieces in her lap. "I was wrong," she said, voice barely above a whisper. "Jason wasn't just my friend. He was manipulating me. I didn't want to admit it. I thought I was helping him, but I was feeding into it. And I hurt you." I stared out the windshield. "Took you long enough to see it." She winced. "I know. I kept saying you were being paranoid or jealous, but you weren't. You were right." Silence sat heavy between us. "I want to fix this," she said. "I'll cut contact. I'll go to therapy. Whatever it takes. Just don't shut the door on us." I looked at her for the first time since we got in the truck. "Do you even hear yourself?" She frowned. "What do you mean? You want to fix this now, after I moved states, after you let that guy wedge himself between us for 3 years? After you missed every moment that mattered to me?" Tears welled up again. "I didn't mean to. I didn't realize how far gone I was. I thought being a good friend meant showing up for him. I didn't know it was breaking you." I shook my head. "No, you didn't care that it was breaking me. That's the difference." She reached out and touched my arm. "I care now." Pulled away. "It's too late, Sarah. I spent years hoping you'd see me. You never did. You saw Jason. You saw his pain. You saw his needs. But me? I was just the guy who cooked your dinners while you texted another man about his heartbreak." Her voice cracked. "Please don't say that." "Why not? It's the truth." I paused, then said it plain. "I don't want to be your backup plan. Not now, not ever." She broke, shoulders shaking, sobbing into her hands. But I didn't comfort her. "Not this time. You had a choice," I said, quieter now. "And you made it, over and over. I'm not angry anymore, but I'm done. I got a life here now, a good one, and I'm not going backwards." She wiped her eyes, trying to hold it together. "So that's it?" "Yeah," I said. "That's it." She opened the door slowly, like she was still waiting for me to stop her. I didn't. She stepped out, closed it behind her, and stood there for a second before walking away. I watched her get in her car. She sat there a while, just staring at the dash, then finally started the engine and pulled off. That was the last time I saw her in person. After she pulled away, I sat in my truck for a while, just breathing. For the first time in years, there was no weight pressing down on my chest. The weeks that followed were steady. I kept my head down, kept building. My crew respected me, deadlines were getting hit, and my name was starting to carry weight in meetings. I wasn't chasing anyone's attention. I was earning it. Denver was starting to feel like home. I found a solid rhythm, early mornings, strong coffee, boots on dirt. My place was mine. No constant hum of someone else's chaos. No walking on eggshells. A few months in, I got invited to this architecture and engineering mixer downtown. One of those networking things that usually feel forced. I went anyway, figured it wouldn't kill me. That's where I met Kate. She wasn't flashy. No dramatic entrance. Just smart, sharp, and funny as hell. She was an architect working on a mixed-use project near the city core. We ended up next to each other in line at the bar and started talking about design flaws in luxury condos. Next thing I knew, we'd been talking for an hour. She didn't ask about my past. Didn't overshare hers. We kept it real. It was easy. We grabbed coffee a few days later. Then lunch. Then dinner. She never flooded my phone with calls. Never played guessing games. When I told her I had late site visits, she respected that. When I talked about future builds, she asked follow-ups, not because she felt obligated, but because she gave a damn. There was no need for constant reassurance. No tiptoeing around someone else's needs while mine sat ignored. It was like finally breathing air I didn't have to earn. We took it slow. Real slow. I wasn't in a rush, and she respected that. She had her own thing going, and I loved that about her. She didn't need saving. She wasn't clinging to some old flame or asking me to prove myself every 5 minutes. We made space for each other without making sacrifices that left bruises. A couple months in, we were walking out of a dinner party when she said, "You're easy to be around. You know that?" I smiled. "That's the goal." She stopped and looked at me for a second. "You ever been with someone who made you feel like you were always running second?" I didn't answer right away. "Yeah," I finally said, "but I'm not doing that again." She nodded. "Good." That's when I knew I'd finally found someone who saw me, not just used me to hold their world together. A year later, I got the email. Came in on a Tuesday morning. Subject line, "I just need to say this." It was from Sarah. I let it sit in my inbox until lunch. I already knew what it was. And I wasn't angry anymore, just curious. When I finally opened it, it was long. Way longer than it needed to be. She poured it all out. Said she'd spent months in therapy. That she'd cut Jason off for good. That she finally saw the damage she'd done. How deeply she'd ignored the man who stood right in front of her while she chased ghosts from her past. She said she missed me. That she still thought about the life we almost had. That she would have done it differently if she'd only known better. She asked if maybe we could talk. Not to undo anything, just to reconnect. I read it once, then again, and then I hit mark as read and closed my laptop. Not out of spite, not out of pride, just because I didn't need to go back there. My life wasn't perfect now, but it was mine. I had a place I liked, a job that challenged me, a woman who treated me like a partner. Not a placeholder. Kate and I weren't in some fairy tale. We had real talks. We disagreed sometimes. But it always came from respect, not guilt or control. I never had to question where I stood. And that feeling of being seen, chosen, valued. It was worth every mile I'd driven away from Sarah's apartment that night. I thought about who I used to be. The guy waiting in the kitchen while his girlfriend laughed with her ex on the phone. The guy who kept asking for crumbs and calling it a meal. I didn't even recognize that version of myself anymore. I wasn't bitter. I wasn't hurt. I wasn't holding on to anything. I just let it go. I walked out on my balcony that night with a beer in one hand and the Denver skyline in front of me, and I realized something simple. I didn't need closure from her. I was the closure.